Hello, welcome back for another video on ARK Survival Ascended. Today we're checking out 10 creature mods that work on the new Valguero remastered map. Of course, being as the map is brand new, a lot of mods haven't been updated yet and won't spawn naturally on the map. All mods are free and can be played cross-platform, so without further ado, let's get straight into it. Kicking off our list, we have Mega's Bits and Bobs, which comes from Mega Honor, and the Real Shadloss, which is a mod I've been having a lot of fun with. Firstly, the mod adds a wide variety of different species to your world, including numerous bear species, a black bear, a panda, and a grizzly bear, just to name a few. Which at first I was expecting them to be reskinned dire bears, but they do have their own attack animations and a cute little cosmetic roar. More creatures include a cow, moo moo, chicken, a boar hog, and many more. The mod is primarily based around farming, so if you enjoy growing your crops and getting in the kitchen brewing up concoctions, then this could be a great mod for you. The mod adds an array of new craftable engrams. I'm still learning about the mod, but you will need to go out and find a parrot known as a macaw, which is a shoulder pet, and once accessing its inventory, you can chuck berries inside and craft up a variety of new seeds, which you can then place in crop plots and grow your own in your base, which of course means many new consumable items that give different effects. The creatures in the mod can be killed and harvested for various types of new meat, and you can cook your own meals with that and vegetables you have grown. So far, I'm really enjoying using this mod, and of course you get a bunch of new creatures that add so much more life into the world of Valguero. Taking the number 9 spot is Kaluga's Appalachian Denizens, from Kaluga and Gaia Studios. This one is a creature mod pack that TLCs many of the existing creatures in the game. It will add slightly more accurate variants, giving them new appearances, sizes, stats, etc, etc. This includes the Appalachian Parasaur, Ceratosaurus, Woolly Rhino, which is a smaller version, more maneuverable, and has access to its own platform saddle. How cool is that? The saddle looks really nice too. Moving on, we have the Appalachian Dire Bear, the Wolf, the Carnotaurus, looking rather pretty, the mighty mammoth with its giant tusks. Speaking of giants, the Appalachian Brontosaurus, just to name a few creatures. The Bronto and many of them look absolutely beautiful. Seeing this big boy makes me excited to see the paleo version of the Bronto come to the game. Ever since creating the mod, Kaluga has been consistently adding new creatures and updates for the mod, and I've really enjoyed using this mod and watching its progression. Another great addition that will add a lot more life and variety into your game. If you're looking for a new way of traversing the map or felt like the Terrorbird was always outclassed by most creatures around the same size, well, this is the Dreadbeak from Kavaiden. They can be found commonly spawning in the redwoods and also in the central and eastern jungles. Tamed via knockout and preferring superior kibble for the best taming effectiveness, once tamed can be saddled up at level 40, and look how lovely the saddle looks too. Very nice and detailed. Similar to the Terrorbird, the Dreadbeak is a fast and agile mount. It does, however, have many new features that make it much more desirable to tame. It has the same running animation of the old Terrorbird, something I personally prefer anyway. When compared to the vanilla Terrorbird, it is only a little larger but has a feathery neck and also more color regions, including some scary glowy eyes. It has its own alternate attack that can pick up smaller creatures in its beak, and also has this unique looking and sounding cosmetic roar. Sounds like a machine gun going off, to be honest. This is, however, the ultimate Terrorbird TLC and makes them so much more fun to use. Up next is the Paleo ARK Ascension from Up From the Depths and the Paleo ARK team. This mod adds an array of paleo variants to your world, giving many existing creatures slightly more refined appearances, while featuring unique color patterns for all those creature collectors out there. It also adds paleo versions for some of the modded creatures too, the Dimantinosaurus being a perfect example. These paleo creatures all have the perk of having 5% more health and 5% more damage over their vanilla counterparts, making them much more desirable to tame. Not to mention they look beautiful, of course. These variants have a 25% chance to spawn in place of their vanilla counterparts, so it gives us a great balance where the paleo versions will always be a pleasant find when out exploring. Oh yes, and by the way, the mod does also add a rideable version of the Kentro, known as the Greater Kentro, which has its own saddle and everything. So that was a very nice surprise. I've always wanted to be able to ride a Kentro, so I guess you could say the Paleo ARK team made my dreams come true. I did test out the rest of the paleo mods on Valguero, which included Paleo ARK Apex Predators and also Rulers of the Wasteland, but unfortunately it seems that the mods haven't received the updates to add Valguero spawns yet. When they do though, those mods would 100% be on my list. Until then, Paleo ARK Ascension is a mod that adds so much more life and diversity into your world. Speaking of a new world, welcome to Wake ARK server clusters. They run 2 PvP server clusters and 1 PvE, featuring all maps. They are open in a 2-man PvP server this Friday the 24th of October, which is tomorrow, and run their own quality of life mods and changes to make gameplay refreshing and exciting. Rising up the leaderboard to the tippity top will see you getting your hands on this awesome 90 by 40 centimeter mouse pad. How badass does this mouse pad look though? I know I'm advertising this, but can I join in on the fun too? That would look looks sweet in my room. Anyway, if you are interested in jumping in, don't hesitate to join their Discord server. Link is in the description of the video and in a pinned comment. Now let's get back to the video. Coming in hot, we have the Ember Steeds from Amalgamaniac Gaming, which is a right tongue twister of a name to pronounce quickly. And yes, it is a flaming hot Equus. Looks pretty cool, I must say. The Ember Steeds has a 25% chance to spawn over its vanilla counterpart, so they are most common in the White Cliffs, but can also spawn here and there around the jungles. I would definitely only bother searching in the White Cliffs, as it's just the go-to spot for an Equus on Valguero. Tamed passively the exact same way, with either veggies that you can find everywhere on the beaches of the White Cliffs and dotted around the region too, but prefer simple kibble for your final hotbar slot for the best taming effectiveness. They use the same saddle as the Equus, unlocked at level 20, and just like the Equus is a great starter traversal utility tame. Its stats are slightly stronger than the Equus. As expected, the saddle works as a portable mortar and pestle, but can also smelt metal and burn wood into charcoal at a pretty fast rate, where it does also have a 50% weight reduction for metal. The Ember Steeds will also keep you well fed when out exploring, as it can also cook meat on the go. Its torpor inducing kick has been subbed out for a flaming kick which deals fire damage to targets over time. It can also harvest carcasses with this kick too, which is nice. And finally, it can poop out a substance which is a direct substitute to spark powder, and rarely a substitute to sulfur. If you love the Equus, then you'll no doubt love the Ember Steeds. It's no secret that the vanilla Patchy Rhino needs some TLC in its life, and there's no better example than Clay's Patchy Rhino edit from the Clay art. This mod adds a new version of the Patchy Rhino to your game, giving it a more appealing model, patterns, and quality of life features. They share spawns with their vanilla counterparts. Clay recently added a new variant known as the Greater Variant, which commonly spawns in the snow biome, it seems. All variants are tamed via typical knockout methods, and prefer bug repellent for the best taming effectiveness. And here's as to why it's a wild card pick right now. Yesterday I had the regular variant spawning in the center of the map, but today after the update, the regular variant doesn't seem to spawn anymore, whereas the greater variant is very common in the snow. So yeah, the mod is inconsistent on Valguero currently, but I spawned in some Clay's Patchy Rhinos to showcase them a bit better. The saddle is unlocked at level 27, and they pretty much share the exact same abilities as the vanilla Patchy Rhino, but they do have some much improved upon attacks. Their regular attack will deal torpor to targets, however does deal quite a lot of health damage too. In addition to that, they have their own mini charge attack, which is much more efficient for knocking out creatures and will temporarily stun targets for a short duration of time. But look how awesome the new Greater Patchy Rhino looks, man. It's so fluffy, and I cannot lie, I do have a lot of love for this mod. In at number 4 is the Dimantinosaurus from Nick BS2, which is quite a popular creature mod, and it is easy to see why. It is a large sauropod around the same size as the Bronto. You can find them spawning everywhere throughout the redwoods, tamed passively where you have to wait for it to fall asleep, and prefers exceptional kibble or sweet veggie cakes for your final hotbar slot. Once tamed, the platform saddle can be unlocked at level 85 along with 3 attachments: a caravan chest piece that reduces the weight of anything inside its inventory by 50%, leggings that passively produce med brews in its inventory over time, and finally a helmet, further increasing its weight reduction by an additional 25% when stacked with the chest piece. The Dimantinosaurus is a relatively slow but powerful herbivore, able to dish out numerous versions of directional frontal and rear stomps to defend itself, all of which deal heavy damage and knockback to targets, most notably its big boy alternate romper stomper power stomp and tail whip, dealing some hefty damage. The type of attack depends on which way you are facing the camera. Although it is a herbivore, it can pretty much harvest anything ranging from berries, meat, wood, thatch, and also rocks too, being an adept harvester of stone, metal, and crystal, just to name a few. And of course, they make for awesome mobile bases, perfectly showcased here in Megan's Games video riding aboard the party bus. If you're a fan of living life as a nomad or fancy a change up, then the Dimantinosaurus could potentially be a great companion for you. In at number 3 is the Muttaburrasaurus, which also comes from Nick BS2. They will typically spawn in the jungles and plains. To tame one of these fluffy fellas, you will need to be level 55 and will need to isolate the one you want to tame from the herd. They have a tendency to panic after being fed, mimicking other dinosaur species, which can affect your character with the rare flower debuff, where everything will begin attacking you. They can also summon wild creatures to the creatures they are mimicking, so it can cause chaos, shall we say, so it's better to trap them if you can. Once in a safe spot, the taming process is very simple. Torpor, a passive tame preferring superior kibble from your final hotbar slot. Once tamed, can be saddled up at level 55, equipped to 2 directional attacks. When facing the camera forward, will perform a headbutt attack, which can harvest meat etc. from carcasses, and when looking behind, will perform a tail bash attack. This can harvest berries, thatch, and small amounts of wood, both dealing average damage at best, but do deal some decent knockback. It's definitely no fighter by any means, but it excels as a support creature, able to mimic roars and calls from varieties of different species. When pressing the crouch key, you can toggle through the aspects that it can mimic. Here we have test subject Rex, just so we know what each buff does for your allied and tamed creatures. The first buff is Aspect of Self, which will grant the Muttaburrasaurus a small health regeneration buff, and when using the roar will grant the Muttaburra Camouflage, which is the same as the Patchy Rhino buff. Aspect of the Raptor will give us 10% land speed bonus, and once using the roar will give the Raptor Swiftness buff to allies, offering 20% land speed, 10% stamina drain reduction, and 2.5 stamina regen. Aspect of the Baryonyx grants us 10% increased swim speed and 20% less oxygen drain, and once using the roar buffs allies with 20% increased swim speed, 40% less oxygen drain, and 2.5 stamina regen. Aspect of the Stego, no surprises here, will make us a little more tankier by 5%, and when roaring will give allies 10% damage resistance and 2.5 health regeneration. Aspect of the Mammoth gives us weight reduction of 10%, and when using the roar will give us similar debuff as the intimidation debuff of the Mammoth, decreasing any nearby creature's attack damage by 10%, and is also said to stack with the Mammoth's intimidation debuff. The final buff is the Aspect of the Tyrannosaurus, which buffs our damage by 5%, and once using the roar will buff all allies damage by 10% and health regeneration by 2.5. And if you keep toggling through the aspects and using the roars, all of these can stack, and as you can see, our Rex is looking all beefed up with all buffs running at the same time. Plus our creatures will be looking rather pretty and colourful. And finally, they do receive pack bonuses that seems to go up to +6 in a group of 7 or more. The Muttaburrasaurus is a very cool creature, and I could definitely see them being used in boss fights. It doesn't replace the UT by any means, but if you have an extra person to ride one of these boys, I could see it being very beneficial for taking down Grendel. Moving into the top 2, we have the Vector Spinus from Tristan's Modding, a highly versatile mount for many occasions, which spawns most commonly throughout the central lake and also some rivers around Valguero. To tame this beast requires you to craft yourself a railgun and some ammo, which comes in the form of energy cells. So it is quite an expensive creature to tame, but resources are plentiful on Valguero either way, and just shoot it in its body and leg region to secure hits, therefore dealing torpor and eventually knocking it out, where it will prefer exceptional kibble for the best taming effectiveness. Once tamed, it can be equipped with 2 different saddles, a regular saddle unlocked at level 55 and an artillery saddle unlocked at level 85. The Vector Spinus is a great traversal mount, a slower sprinter on land, however it is very nimble in the water, having a great swimming speed while also not possessing an oxygen stat, making it great for diving down into the abyss. With directional bite attacks at its disposal to capably defend itself, and also a ranged water breath attack which deals high tick damage for as long as the attack is held down, of course at the cost of stamina drain. Moving on to the artillery saddle, which gives the Vector Spinus a better armor rated of 55. Once throwing artillery shells into your Vector Spinus inventory, you can lay down an artillery barrage upon your enemies, which deals quite a lot of damage and also damages metal structures. Not only does it excel as a battle mount, but it is also a great support dinosaur too. It has its own buffing roar, which when used can buff itself and any allied creatures within the Spinosaur family. For example, the Spino and the Baryonyx, buffing damage, resistance, and movement speed by 25% for the duration. I cannot express how happy I was to discover that the Vector Spinus spawns on Valguero. It really is such a great all-rounder. Well, I know there's not really much incentive to dive down into the abyss, but it's still a large underground ocean, so we have to cover all angles here. And what better way to close out the top 10 than with the all-terrain vehicle that is the Nothosaurus from Morinada. You'll find them rarely spawning around the beaches. It seems the beaches off the White Cliffs is the best spot to search. They are neutral creatures and have a unique taming method which consists of placing down electrical generators, and once turned on they become aggressive to the generator and begin attacking it. And once destroyed, the taming bar will increase. Of course, higher levels will need more generators, and you just rinse and repeat the process until it is tamed. Saddled up at level 48, the Nothosaurus is an exceptional traveling mount, having a decent running speed, however is a much better swimmer and extremely agile in the water. And just like the Vector Spinus, does not possess an oxygen stat, having an array of different attacks including bite attacks, lunge attacks, tail whips, all dealing decent damage, barrel rolls when swimming which can be used to dive out of the water. Oh yes, it's a lot of fun. The Nothosaurus thrives off electricity, ability and can utilize it to dish out devastating attacks. Its charge bar can be filled up when being struck by electrical attacks, for example the Electrophorus or the Jellyfish, and will rise in chunks with successful kills, which of course also means it is immune to their stun and dismounts. When the charge bar is full, it can perform the Explode attack, which stuns and deals massive damage to any targets in range. Sadly, eels and jellyfish are quite rare on Valguero, but it does have more utility going its way, where it could scan for silica pearls and harvest them with its bite attack. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, the Nothosaurus is probably my favourite semi-aquatic modded creature in the game, and I honestly can't see myself picking any other creature to explore the abyss. And that is going to be the end of the video. I hope you all enjoyed it, and if you did, please don't forget to like, comment, share around, and subscribe for more, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Take care, goodbye.